Hi, and welcome to another edition of Business Bites here from Bauer Media Audio in Northern Ireland. My name is David Tighe, the Managing Director, and I'm really pleased to welcome this week's guest. It's Tess Cope, who's the Director of the Transformation Agency. Tess, welcome to Business Bites.
Thank you, David. Pleasure to be with you.
Well, it's great to see you. We're always limited for time, so we have to crack straight into the conversation, and I'm really delighted that we've got you here this week, especially because you run a business called the Transformation Agency. It sounds amazing, and I've got a small insight into the work that you do. But if you could summarize what your business does for us, that would be amazing.
So I'll keep it really succinct. Working with leaders one-on-one to really help them transform their organizations. But as part of that, thinking about how they're showing up. So I work in an executive coaching capacity, but I also work with leadership teams to help them think about how they're leading the business and how they bring people with them, which is probably the nice segue into the book itself.
Yeah, so everyone always says, and it's 100% true, a business is nothing without the people in it, and you're very focused on that. And so much so that you've put pen to paper and you've released a book. Tell us about the book. What's it called? And then we can perhaps talk about the subject matter.
Yeah, so this is something that's been coming for quite a while. I talk about being in the birthing canal for some time. So this is one of the positives of COVID. It gave me the space to put pen to paper. The book is called Harnass, and it's all about harnessing the energy that's within the individual. And the essence is about equipping leaders with a more extensive coaching toolkit. My belief is that it's time to take coaching into the next phase. And what I mean by that is start working with people as the whole person in the context of the whole system. So coaching has got a trajectory of giving people tools to work and help individuals do better at the job that they're doing. And that's been a great foundation. But my experience tells me actually we now need to take a much wider perspective. We need to think about more than the individual that's sat in its current chair, not least because of the last 2 years. All the boundaries and all the lines are blurred. People are sitting in their homes, so all parts of their system are actually in front of us when we're coaching and working with our people. So this is by giving leaders a toolkit to really have a different kind of conversation.
Okay, so let's just explore that. We are in pretty much in a virtual and remote world. I know many leaders who said to me that they find it a challenge to coach people when they're not physically present, and also a challenge to understand what emotional triggers are going off on individuals in a team when they're not picking up those non-verbal signals as best as perhaps they could in the past. So have you got any insight in the book around how we can deal with those sorts of modern issues, if you like?
Yeah, well, the word harness is actually an acronym for the coaching framework. So H stands for honoring the history, A stands for acknowledging the current reality, just as two examples of what's available in the book. So in terms of the honoring history, one of the things here that's really important and helpful is thinking about the systems that this person has traveled through. It's not unusual when I'm coaching leaders that we actually find within the leadership, we have got the family patterns playing out in the organization without us even realizing it. So by really understanding all of the systems that someone is working in and has come through, we're able to separate those two systems a little bit more elegantly and help the individual understand what is really going on here, what's happening in my leadership that's appropriate in the organization, and what might I need to do to separate it. So that's the H of the Harnass framework, to broaden the conversation further. The A of the Harnass framework is about acknowledging reality. So acknowledging, we are in a virtual world. We are in a context that's fluid, it's emergent, it's very hard to predict next week, next month, next year, and that of course will affect performance. But the other aspect of acknowledging reality is allowing people to talk about how they're feeling about this remote world, this context. new ways of working, and if they have some flexibility, helping them navigate that. I read a couple of weeks ago, and I posted on it last week actually on LinkedIn, quite a horrifying statistic that I think we all need to be alert to. Almost 70% of people are showing signs of exhaustion because of this extended period of remote working. Now, we're not going to make that go away in a coaching conversation, but we can at least acknowledge it. And by acknowledging it, it's almost like we can take a night breath. Yes, we're all talking about the same context. And within that context, what do we need to do next? So there are some very simple ways of really acknowledging where we are today. So those are just two examples. They sound simple, but I'm not suggesting they're easy.
Yeah, and as you're talking there, I'm actually feeling more relaxed as you're talking about it. So thank you for acknowledging that on this particular chat today. It is an absolute minefield, and I think the piece that you talk about exhaustion, that really, I think, resonates. And exhausted leaders who are probably not making rational decisions, and exhausted employees who may be reacting in ways that may not be the way they may have reacted 12 months ago to standard situations, even in the workplace. So what kind of inspired you to apart from the COVID period, it must have been something to do with your work over the years. You thought, right, I've got to do this. It didn't just happen, did it?
No, not at all. I mean, I've been building my own capability and my training, as anyone who does this job really needs to do, and stay fresh and up to date. So I've been training in this, what I'm calling systemic approach, for about 12 years. And I feel passionate about building this capability inside the organization. There will always be a place for people who are external, such as I am today. I was internal previously. But my passion is for building this capability inside, so that leaders and those others in the organization who have coaching as core part of their role feel equipped, feel more confident to have a different level of conversation. So that's my why of the book. And I do other things beyond the book to build that capability, but it's something that's been brewing for a while, and I'm incredibly passionate about building what I call systemic intelligence and capability inside the organization, because then we've got a chance of whatever change you are leading to actually be sustainable. If you're relying on external throughout, then you're creating some exposure and some risk. So that's really what's brought it to the forefront right now.
And have you got any examples over your career of being involved with the transformation agency where you've applied some of this thinking into a business and you've seen the results? Is there anything that stands out for you around that?
So I've got loads of examples, and actually having examples the whole way through the book. But I'll just share one tiny example, and it's current. It's somebody I'm working with right now. Of course, I won't disclose who that is, but they are in a large organization, in a PLC, and they've got an incredibly senior role. And they were very much, for the last 12 months, head down, focused on the job, and weren't looking after themselves or their people. All of a sudden, now we're getting feedback from their stakeholders, which includes their team, but also more senior people. Okay, this person's showing up very differently. All of a sudden, they've got time for everyone else, and they're holding a space where everyone else can figure out, how do I need to work differently? Because we've all got a new context. So the nature of their leadership and how they're showing up has fundamentally changed. So that's a tiny example, but there's loads in the book.
So it really does start from the top, in your opinion.
100%.
Yeah. So if we've got a leader or leaders that are watching this and they want to get the book, how do they get it?
So it's officially on sale next Thursday, 9th of December. It's available for pre-order right now, and thank you for loading it up onto the screen. And of course, it will be available in some of your classic major bookstores from next Thursday onwards.
Well, Tess, it's been an absolute pleasure to see you and to hear all about your great work. And that book might make an ideal Christmas present for someone. Just saying.
Thank you.
Great to have you as our guest this week, and all the best to you for the future.
Thank you very much.